Hey, I'll do this one in English because I think most of the people I will be discussing speak English. uh, so it's funny because I love to explore languages and compare them. I always did. And you notice patterns and you notice similarities and you notice, you sort of, to me, it's a way to figure out the course of history, I guess. And one thing I noticed, and one conclusion I've been coming to about languages and French and Hebrew and English and all the languages we know, tells me that we misunderstood, and so do they, the meaning of Judaism, what it means to be a Jew and all that. And to me, you need to understand French to get it, because it all started in French. This whole confusion is like, when kids play a telephone and then the message gets distorted by the end, like even from the beginning. I think that's what's always happening with history and everything. So there's no point in all of what they're defending right now. Like, they're defending a right to occupy a spot on the map, right? And they feel justified to do everything they're doing right now over there. Well, not all of them, of course. We know that. We know that some are awakened. Some have awareness of that. Like, oh, wait a minute. Something's wrong here in our reasoning. Well, something is very wrong with their reasoning, and something is very wrong with everybody's reasoning if we allow this to actually happen. It means we really don't get it, and it's so simple, really. We just have to let go of our rigid, horizontal view of the world, because there's beyond that's available. There's not just the horizon. The horizon, it's true, it's real, what we're seeing, but it's not all of the truth. It's like one aspect of it. And if the Jews read the message and the history and the Bible and Torah and everything, if we took it from a French perspective, we would understand that there was never a Hebrew people. It's something Hebrew along the way, because it's like there's really a tradition. There's really a Jewish tradition. And that's the thing, okay? It's a reservation of tradition. They are, I'm not sure how you say les preux, like a preux chevalier. Like, someone can tell me how we say a preux chevalier in English. Because that's the key word, which got everything twisted and which actually is currently justifying a genocide. That word, that misunderstanding. So I think it's a big deal. Okay? It's quite an important misunderstanding, which the whole world should become aware of. It's been urgent, and yet I don't know. We've been avoiding it. All right, but lépreux, okay. I explained it in a French video a couple of times. Basically, we all heard about, the fact that, we can read Benjamin Franklin and know that everyone was darker skinned at some point when he was around, okay? And they started bleaching everyone via the treatments and the rations and like the federation. And anyway, it's all French. You can't believe me unless you understand French. So I'm not going to start justifying. I'm just giving you an idea. Okay. Okay. The idea is that via distortions of language and understanding over time, because whenever we lose track of history, which happens very often because there's the weather that comes into play and circumstances that distract humans, and it's normal. And so when we go back to history, we have to interpret what we read. And our level of consciousness when we read and find out about history determines our interpretation. Okay? So basically, people get dark, and then people bleach themselves with industrial whatever for generations. But there's a history, and it's there. It's in the Bible. It's in everything. Just look for it. It's everywhere. Like, it's available. They make it available, but we gotta make an effort. And the story being that the people in Palestine, way back, the Jews, the so-called Jews, les preux, they weren't Jews, they were preux. They were preux, meaning they had they held on to tradition, and we could count on them for remaining very strongly committed to values and to ways, So that's what it is. That's how they were. And the strict ones today are still like that. The strict Jews today, they're still like that. We can admire them for that. They are the carriers of a tradition that's very old. And that's their strength, right? I mean, if their kids go to traditional school, they'll learn early on, at an early age, all of the business models you can create on this planet. They learn, like, they're very strong on tradition, and they live humble lives, and they make a lot of money, and so on and so on. They know how to administer resources wisely. They have a lot of very strong traditions, and I really admire them for that. I really, really do. And I realize by observing them what we, the others, the goyim, are missing in order to strengthen our family trees and to make, I don't know, to administer or to our lives better and our families, to make them stronger and wealthier and more balanced. I'm not saying everyone should follow their rules. I'm just saying that they have strong family traditions, and it's their strength. So anyway, if you go back to the Bible, les preux, what happened is they were gone. They vanished. They left in exile for I don't know how many thousand years, but there's so many legends also that also concur with that. Like there was a 12,000 years gap for some people who were in exile somewhere, didn't have access to the sunlight, the warmer climates, and so on. Okay? And then eventually, they came back. But when they came back, people didn't recognize them because they had a skin issue. Yeah, they had become pale. All right? That's the issue. That is the big misunderstanding that we still carry on today. We still carry it on because we don't know how to read the story, because we've lost certain faculties along the way. Okay? And a lot of it has to do with what we put in our body. And then it's easy what we put in our body diminishes our ability to see and to understand things in a deeper way. And like we miss a lot by dimming ourselves through and also doing all sorts of things to our vibe and our energy and our faculties. Anyway, we do it to ourselves until we decide that we're done and we want to feel better and see clearer and all that. But when they came back and they were pale, people thought they had a skin issue. and they didn't want to catch it. So these people were living, basically they were in and out of their caves up the hill, you know, and that was the deal, you know. But eventually they mingled and they mixed, because it was their way to be able to adapt to the climate, to mix and integrate themselves, you know, again. And so hybrids, you know, they became a people of hybrid. And it's funny because Hebrew is ibrit in their language. And ibrit sounds a lot like the French word for hybrid, the French pronunciation, hybrid. Okay? And that's what it's about. That's what it's about. I'm not sure if they realize it, but I do. And anyway, and so on and so forth. And this story is told, like, it gets told to our kids via television and all that, and books. But as we tell the story, we still don't get it, because it's subtle. They say it in a subtle way, but it's everywhere. It's everywhere, and it's from our religious books to everything. I don't know why it's not told to us in school. Probably there's a metaphysical dimension of it, which is a little touchy to bring into a rigid horizontal thinking. So that might be why. It probably takes a certain effort and humility or something like that to get it, because you have to revisit history without so much rigidity, without clinging on to the intellect. The ego wants the intellect to win at all costs. They don't want the intellect to get out of hand, you know, and imagine stuff that could be beyond the limits of the obvious. Okay. Anyway, believe me or not, believe it or not, I really think that Hebrew, a language, but I think it all comes from French. I think les preux, Hebrews, they were part of, you know, how can I say? Anyway, I won't get lost in explaining. I'll get back to, Oh, I was listening last night to a very interesting guy. He's a Jew, and he says he's not a Jew. So he says the invention of Judaism. So I went and listened to him. His name is Shlomo Sand. And his presentation, he understands the same thing I understand. He's exposing it, but via a completely different approach. But he's saying the same thing. So people know. So now that we know, how come it's still allowed for the genocide to be going on? I mean, they still don't get it? That Babylon and the Promised Land and Jerusalem is a state of being and not a state on the map? They still don't get it? How come? Well, because we're keeping ourselves limited. And that's a choice. And now you heard it. So what are you going to do? Nothing? What are you going to do? There's a genocide going on. And everyone is supposed to be able, in 2025, everyone is equipped to get it. So, don't you care? Don't you care about human life? I mean, yeah, we reincarnate. Yeah, we never really die. But while we're here, I don't believe anyone should have a right over anybody's life and presence on earth, okay? You don't just go and kill people and take their place and say that they're not worth it because they don't get it. You don't get it. You really don't get it if that's how you think. All right? And that applies to their story, but it applies to everyone. Okay? Let's apply this. Let's apply this to Muslims. Let's apply this to Christians. Let's apply this to atheists. Let's just apply this to humans in general. Let's just kind of wake up once and for all right? Okay, I'm sorry, I'm a little worked up, but I'm sure the people in Gaza would appreciate me be worked up and talking about it. And they would probably appreciate you talking about it and thinking about it. And they would probably appreciate your conclusions to be shared with others as well once you've done that. So thank you. Sorry. I love you. And we can do this. We can fix this world.